Welcome back to another unusual money making video, the series where I try out some of the weirdest ways of making money on Runescape. After our last video, we've now found 10 different methods that have made us above 1 million GP an hour, and plenty more that have made us a nice bit of change. With over 70 methods tested, we're getting up there, so the methods are only going to get more unusual from here. If you didn't know, in this series you guys send me weird and unusual money making methods, I try them out and then rank them on those leaderboards. If you have a method you want me to try out, send me a Discord DM, a Twitter DM, or let me know in the comments section down below, and while you're down there, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, let's make some money. Today's first method is, for the first time ever, one that comes from an email. Yeah, sent to me by a level 126. His method has me playing Gnome Ball. Yep, you heard that correctly, Gnome Ball. That game in the Gnome Stronghold that everyone knows about but has never really tried for themselves. During the game, if you score 5 goals, you are rewarded with a Gnome Ball. A level 126 says that with 99 range, he's never missed a shot. At the time of this email, Gnome Balls are 19.2k and sell near instantly on the GE. So in the first method of today, we will be playing Gnome Ball to collect Gnome Balls to make money. Unusual. I like it. Now what does that sound? Is that a tank? Today's video is sponsored by World of Tanks. Drive your tanks across open fields, deserts, sneak through forests, or play in urban and industrial zones. The best thing is, it's free to play with over 100 million players. And it's on PC. The game prides itself on historical accuracy, which means authentic models and vehicle characteristics that make you feel like you're inside a real tank. There are more than 600 tanks to choose from destroyers, artillery, light, medium, and heavy tanks. There's always a new way to play. You can earn experience, modify, and upgrade your tank to create your perfect war machine ready for any challenge. The game has been around since 2010, and there's a reason it's still so popular today. Check out the game by going to the link in the description. During the registration, use the code TANKMANIA to get a free 7 days of premium account, 250,000 credits, the premium tank Excelsior, and 3 rental tanks for 10 battles each. Not too shabby. Hop into battle and check out World of Tanks today. Link in the description. Gnome Ball is an absolutely hilarious game. To start, you speak to the Gnome Ball referee. He gives you a ball, and all you have to do is spam click the goal on the opposite side of the arena. You'll run a few steps, and like a level 126 said, with 99 range, you'll score every time. Do this 5 times, and once you've scored 5 goals, you'll win the game. It's one of the best feelings ever. I mean, you've got gnome cheerleaders screaming your name. What's better than that? Once the game is finished, you exit the arena, and you are rewarded with a Gnome Ball. Scoring 5 goals takes around 1 minute and 20 seconds without any disruptions. Every time you leave the game, you have to drop the Gnome Ball outside the arena. If you already have one in your inventory, you won't be rewarded with another one, so you have to drop it. Every time you finish the game, you just go back outside, pick up all the Gnome Balls you dropped, and repeat the process. Now, when it comes to disruptions, there are a few. Occasionally, when you're running towards the goal to score, one of the Gnome Ball players will tackle and steal the ball from you. In order to get it back, you have to take it back from them, and I won't lie, it's kind of aggressive. You pretty much have to pick up the gnome and kind of chokehold swing it around until he eventually gives it back, and then when you drop him, he stays face down on the floor for a long time, probably because he's trying to regain consciousness. The tackles in this game remind me exactly of the tackles that the kids made in a game called Backyard Soccer, a game I used to play all the time. They kind of have that same up in the air and flop animation. I don't know, it just looks really funny to me. This definitely brought back very happy memories of the hundreds and hundreds of hours I put into that game as a kid. Now, occasionally, multiple gnomes will take the ball from you, so the time it takes to score a goal goes up by about 15 to 20 seconds. At first, I wasn't using staminas, but decided to grab some halfway through since I did find myself running out of energy quite quickly. While this method doesn't have many requirements aside from getting access to the Gnome Stronghold, having a low range level will definitely affect the amount of times you miss your shots, but even with that factored in, it's not too bad of a method to do from scratch. After 1 hour of grinding out Gnome Balls, I collected 38 of them. I noticed that their selling price on the Grand Exchange was 20k, so I put in all 30 for that price, waited around 5 minutes, and all of them finally sold, 752,400 GP. If we take away the 22.4k we spent on staminas, we are left with a profit of 730,000 GP. 730k in an hour collecting Gnome Balls in the Gnome Stronghold. Gnome Balls seem to have had a meteoric rise over the past 6 months. Again, no idea why, but hey, it happens. This was awesome. Thank you, a level 126 for the method, and thank you to whoever is buying Gnome Balls at these prices on the Grand Exchange. You know, the one thing I love about shops in this game is that we can always find one to profit on, and thanks to CD, we've got a new one. He says that in Varrock Lumberyard at the sawmill, we can buy bolts of cloth for 650 GP and sell them for 1k. We can also buy nails and make some money on those as well. Now, buying nails is a pretty well-known moneymaker nowadays thanks to those meddling YouTubers, but a lot of times we glance over those bolts of cloth. They're kind of nuts. Simply buying one makes you 400 GP profit. Per inventory, 10k. The best thing about these is that they don't go down in price every time you buy one. Lots of times shops will charge you more money the lower the stock is, but not with these bolts of cloth. They stay the same price no matter the stock, which is amazing for profits. Now, CD suggests that we use the Varrock Lumberyard, but I found that the Woodcutting Guild sawmill was closer to the bank. My strategy was to run back and forth between the Woodcutting Guild bank and the sawmill, buying bolts of cloth, banking, and repeating. But a few minutes in, I realized a much better way to go about doing this. We're going to get creative. We'll use a crafting cape to bank, and we'll use a skills necklace to teleport to the Woodcutting Guild and run to the sawmill. This method of buying the bolts of cloth is more than 10 seconds faster per inventory. I'll just have to subtract the cost of the skills necklaces and stamina potions after we finish. Another nice thing about this method is that there are 1,000 of these in stock, so we don't have to hop every other inventory to a new world. I think throughout the hour, I hopped maybe 3 times. After the hour was finished, we were left with 3,186 bolts of cloth. I chucked them in on the GE for med price at 1,080 GP, and after 30 minutes, they all sold. Subtract the 26k we spent on staminas and the 22k we spent on skills necklace charges, and we were left with a final profit total of 1,289,850 GP. Let's go! Another 1 million GP an hour method. This one slides in nice and snug at number 6 on the leaderboards. We are now up to 11 unusual methods that have made us over 1 million GP an hour. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, CD. Next up, we have a method from Framed. Hey, Framed.
Not my name.
What's your unusual moneymaker, brother?
Squeezing out as much P as you can for money.
Not really willing to do that on video, Framed. Sorry. Let's go ahead and ask Jimmy and see what he says. So Jimmy went to go get some swamp toads for Herblore and picked up a whole inventory of these f***ers in like 60 seconds, and then he ripped their legs off and boom, all of a sudden he had 13.2k worth of toad legs in his inventory. And the best thing is, they just be sitting there for anyone to grab. Well, Jimmy, let me tell you, there's nothing more I wanted to do right now than pick up hundreds of these toads, rip their legs off, and sell them for some fat stacks on the Grand Exchange. So if you head to the swamp enclosure in the Tree Gnome Stronghold, actually, wait, before we continue, I have to get something off my chest. Why is this place called the Tree Gnome Stronghold and this place called the Tree Gnome Village? Am I crazy, or shouldn't they be swapped? The southern Artie location is fortified with a maze to better protect it, and the northern Artie location, while it is fortified, it's where everyone's chilling and living, aka the village. Has anyone else ever found this strange? Anyway, 18 of these fuckers can be found up in the swamp enclosure, and all you have to do is just run around and pick these guys up. You can either wait for them to respawn and fill out the rest of your inventory, or you can hop worlds and speed up the process just a slight bit. Once you have a full inventory, the really nice thing is that you can just spam click on the bottom right toad in your inventory, and it will remove all of the legs for every toad that you have. After that, I used my crafting cape to bank and a seed pod to take me back to the stronghold. Whenever my run energy got low, I just used the ornate pool in my house to replenish it. This method is fairly chill and very easy to do, a great starter or rebuilding moneymaker. After 1 hour, I managed to collect 729 toad's legs. Not too shabby. Toad legs are another item that have had quite the rise in price over the past few years, and today I noticed on the wiki that the price guide was showing them selling for between 550 to 950 GP, even though the GE price showed them at 511. I could have instantly sold all of them for 368k, but I decided I wanted to be a little bit risky and list them all for 750 GP each. If sold, I would make almost 200k more. And thankfully, with a bit of patience, they all did manage to sell at that price after a few hours. 541k in the bag. Jimmy, PETA might not like this method, but I do. A couple of months ago, a bunch of you messaged me asking about an infinite money glitch that was discovered by someone on the 2007 Scape subreddit. Now, it isn't exactly a glitch, but it is a way to make infinite money. After your cat catches 100 rats, you can speak to Gertrude and Varrock, and she will give you a cat training medal. Now, this medal doesn't give you any stats whatsoever, it's purely cosmetic, but what it does do is alch for 210 GP. Every time you alch it, you just simply talk to Gertrude again, go through a couple lines of dialogue, and boom, you get another, and you alch that one too. Nature runes are currently buying for 190 GP, so per cat training medal that you're alching, you make 20 GP. Most of the time when alching, you're looking for a cheap item that loses you very little GP. In this case, we found an item that makes you profit while alching, and there's an infinite amount of them. Obviously, this is a bit different than the normal alching training method, since you aren't just able to spam click alch on a stack of noted items in your inventory. Instead, you have to consistently talk to Gertrude for the medal, alch it, talk to her again, and repeat the process. So I tested this out for 1 hour and managed to alch 684 cat training medals. The nature runes cost me 130,644 GP, and the amount I made back was 143,640 GP, which means we made 12,996 GP. We also gained 44,460 magic XP, so 44k magic XP an hour. At the end of the day, this obviously isn't the most efficient way to train. It's not going to make you the most, and 99.99% of you will never try this for yourself. But the method is mega unusual and weird and fits perfectly into a series like this. And hey, who knows? Maybe a future Varrock locked Ultimate Iron Man will end up doing this on their account. Nice find, guys. Einar sent me a Twitter DM and told me that he's been using a method that's been making him almost 2 million GP in 30 minutes. What he's been doing is tactically buying and selling items from the bow and arrow salesmen in the Ranging Guild. At current prices, many of the items in the shop will make a profit when selling them back to the GE. This, my friends, is a hop and shop method, aka buying from a shop, hopping worlds, and repeating the process. Einar told me that his method involves not only buying from the shop, but also selling to it, which we don't see often. Rune arrows are so cheap on the Grand Exchange that if you sell around 40 at a time, you make money. So what Einar does is sell 50 rune arrows, buys all the iron and steel arrow tips, 100 mithril arrow tips, and 150 adamant arrow tips. After he's done, he hops worlds and continues. He profits around 15k per world and does around 4 worlds per minute, so around 60k a minute. If profits are consistent, that's around 3.6 million GP an hour. Profit like that very much intrigues me, so I of course had to try it out for myself. As I began testing out this method, I noticed that with current Grand Exchange prices, I actually wasn't profiting on some of the items. As with most shops, if you buy out a large portion of the stock, the price will go up. It's the same thing with selling. Rune arrows, for example, can be sold for 200 GP per rune arrow when the stock is at 400, but when the stock hits 435, they only sell for 50, so you'd be selling for a loss. About 10 minutes in, I changed up the amount I was buying per world so I wouldn't be losing any money when selling these back to the GE. I still bought 150 Addy arrow tips, 100 mithril arrow tips, and all of the steel arrow tips, but I only bought 200 or so of the iron arrow tips instead of buying them all out. Certain worlds are perfect for this type of method, worlds where bots will never log in and affect the stock, like the total level worlds or PvP worlds. Unfortunately, the regular worlds seem to have other people doing this. I don't know if they're bots, but I could definitely tell that there were other people doing the same method as me. The shop doesn't restock fast enough for multiple people to be doing this, so quite often I found myself hopping to a world and being unable to do anything. This of course slowed down the amount of items I was buying per hour. Now at the end of the hour, I still managed to get quite a few items. I ended up selling around 2,600 rune arrows to the shop and bought a lot of arrow tips. I chucked them all in the GE for the price they were selling at and let them sit there until they sold. It took around an hour for everything to sell, but at least they sold. At the end of it all, the amount of profit I made thanks to the bow and arrow shop in the Ranging Guild was 499,654 GP. At the end of the day, it's not the worst profit. If you were able to do this method after an update, for example, or during off-peak times and the shop was constantly full of stock, this could easily make you over 1 million an hour. You just have to find the right time. Jacob commented, unusual moneymaker, making bottled dragon breath. Now, originally, I wasn't going to include this one for the reasons I'll explain in a bit, but I decided the method itself is just straight weird and unusual and fits perfectly into this series. Some of you, maybe even most of you, know what this item is, but for those of you that don't know, it's flat out strange. You can buy bottled dragon breath and it will instantly charge a dragonfire shield or a dragonfire ward. Instead of you having to go to the dragon and waiting for a long time for your shield to charge, you can just use this item on the shield and boom, a fully charged shield or ward is all yours. The way it's made though is a bit weird. You need 10 dragon fruit, a vial, and a sulfur vent, which can be found outside the bank at Mount Cromwell. By using a vial on the dragon fruit, you immediately use all 10 and are left with a bottle of unpowered dragon breath. Then you use that bottle on the sulfur vent and voila, you have bottled dragon breath. I guess since the fruit you use is called dragon fruit, it makes sense, but it still makes me laugh thinking that one of the best shields in the game can be charged by squeezing some fruit into a bottle and dunking it in a sulfur vent. If you aren't wearing ice gloves, you'll take 2 damage per ball that you make and it'll stop the automatic process of making them, so make sure you have them on. I bought 500 dragon fruits to test out this method. The process of making the unpowered bottles is very quick. I made all 50 within a minute, and turning them into the powered version on the sulfur vent can be done one of 2 ways. You can just use one on the vent and the rest will automatically be done, or you can go a bit crazy and use the bottles on the vent one by one, clicking quickly between the 2, and you will charge the bottles faster. Making 50 took 3 minutes, very quick. The thing is, they took 2 hours and 30 minutes to sell, and I actually ended up losing money because the dragon fruit were going for way more than the wiki price suggested, so I lost like 40k. I didn't want to give up on this method yet though, so I left it an overnight offer on the Grand Exchange for a much lower price for 1500 dragon fruits. If they bought at 950 GP, I would definitely be making profit. After an entire day of waiting, they all bought. Turning all of the dragon fruit into 150 bottled dragon breath took around 10 minutes, and I am happy to report that after listing all of the dragon breath for 10.5k, they all sold, and we made profit. 130k, not amazing, but I'm happy that we were in the green. I just found this method very strange and really wanted to share with all of you. If you're able to buy the dragon fruits at a low price and don't mind waiting for the bottled dragon breath to sell, some GP can definitely be made here. One of the first ever unusual moneymakers I covered is still to this day by far one of the strangest, and it's one I still get suggested to try, so I figured since it's been so long, I might as well show you guys again. There's a fairy in SoupRS called Lunderwin, and she does something that no other NPC in the game does. She buys cabbages for 100 GP each. Now, she was added all the way back in 2002, so she's been around for a while, back when cabbages were probably a bit more pricey, and this was a fair price. These days, you can buy a cabbage on the GE for 46 GP. So bring a full inventory of cabbages to her and you could profit 1.4k per run. The thing is, to get to her, you need to pay an entrance fee to get access to the marketplace where she is. The entrance fee is 1 diamond every time you go in, and diamonds currently sell for 1860 GP. So if we do the math, the cost to buy everything was 3102 GP and we got 2.7k in return. So we lost 402 GP. Profiting off of this while buying cabbages from the Grand Exchange won't likely make you any profit, so your other option is to pick the cabbages from the ground yourself and then sell them to her. That would net you around 800 GP profit per run. Now, some of you might be thinking that you know of a loophole that can make you way more money, and that's filling up empty sacks full of cabbages and then taking it to her. The thing is, sacks cannot be brought into the marketplace, so Jagex was one step ahead of us on this one. This isn't really a great GP generating method, but it is one of those charming methods that reminds you of what the game used to be like when we were young. This NPC, like I said, was added back in 2002. Some of you watching may even be younger than her, which is crazy. It makes me feel very old. If you're ever in the SoupRS area and looking to sell some cabbages though, you know, Lunderwin's got your back. That's going to finish off all the methods for today. Thank you all once again for sending me all of your strange and unusual methods. We had some of my favorite ones I've ever tested for a video today. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new to the channel. As usual, thank you to everyone who submitted an unusual moneymaker. If you guys have a method that you want me to try out, make sure to leave it in the comments below or join my Discord and shoot me a DM on there. Discord.gg/SoupRS, link in the description. It's the best way to get a response from me quickly. Also, make sure to check out the unusual money-making leaderboard since I've been getting a lot of of methods that we've already covered. We've done over 70, like I said at the beginning of the video, so we're getting up there. Thank you all once again for watching, and make sure to check out the last video, as well as the previous unusual money making video if you missed that one. It should pop up on your screen right now.